In Africa's sun-scorched plains, where the horizon shimmers with heat, and the air is thick with the scent of wild grass, some lions become legends known to the world. Their names echo across continents, their images splashed across screens and magazines, celebrated as the kings of the savannah. But others like Phakara rule from the shadows, their stories whispered rather than shouted, their presence felt more than seen. Phakara was never a documentary star, nor a face in glossy magazines. He was not the lion that tourists traveled thousands of miles to photograph. Instead, he was a presence, an enigma, a shadow that moved with purpose. He was felt, not seen, a legend that grew in the hush of twilight and the rustle of grass. Rangers spoke his name with awe and caution, their voices dropping when they recounted tales of his cunning and strength. To them, Phakara was more than a lion. He was a force of nature, unpredictable and formidable. Phakara was a force who rewrote the rules of survival. He didn't just survive, he thrived, outsmarting rivals and outlasting threats that would have ended lesser lions. While coalitions flaunted their power by day, parading across open plains, Phakara's influence grew strongest at night. Under the cover of darkness he became a phantom, his movements silent and calculated. His roar promised not spectacle but certainty, a king on the prowl, needing no audience. It was a sound that sent shivers through the night, a warning to all who dared challenge his reign. His legend wasn't built on a single battle, but on years of relentless strategic dominance. Other predators avoided him. Even the boldest hyenas and wild dogs kept their distance, wary of his reputation. Rivals stayed alert, knowing he could strike at any moment. Tourists might overlook him, their eyes searching for more visible lions, never realizing the true king was watching from the shadows. But the animals of his domain recognized the authority in his gaze. A single look from Phakara could send a herd scattering, his silent command respected by all. Phakara proved that true power doesn't seek the spotlight. He moved like a ghost, blending into the landscape, his presence a constant, invisible pressure. Sometimes the greatest kings are those you never see coming. Their strength lies in their mystery, their ability to shape the world without ever being fully revealed. This is the story of a phantom king, whose life reminds us of the wild's hidden dramas. In the quiet moments before dawn, when the world holds its breath, Phakara's legend grows. Phakara's journey is one of intelligence, brute force, and an unbreakable will. Every scar on his body tells a story of battles fought and won, of a life lived on the edge. He was the unseen king, his legacy whispered in the shadows of the savannah, a reminder that the wild's greatest rulers are often those who leave the faintest footprints behind. Every ruler has an origin, but Phakara's beginnings were a mystery. He wasn't born into power or fame, he simply appeared, an outsider, a lone nomad. No one knew his pride or his past, he survived alone facing starvation, injury and aggression. To endure as a solitary young male is rare. Phakara not only survived, he thrived. His hardships forged a cunning, independent mind. He learned to read the land and his rivals. Rangers described him as cautious, ambitious, always observing from the periphery. He studied other prides, waiting for the perfect moment to act. His unknown past made him unpredictable, a force without a history, only ambition. Phakara was a self-made king, shaped by the wilderness itself. His mysterious youth was the crucible that forged a legend. Phakara's rise wasn't brute force, it was strategy. From the very beginning, he understood that raw power alone would never be enough to secure his place at the top. Instead, he watched, learned, and waited, always calculating his next move with a patience rare among lions. He formed a temporary alliance with another ambitious nomad, not out of loyalty, but necessity. The savannah was unforgiving, and Phakara knew that survival often meant making uneasy pacts, even with those he could not fully trust. Phakara led, using his partner's strength to execute his plans. He was always the mind behind the operation, directing their movements and choosing their targets with care. He targeted vulnerable prides, waiting for the right moment to strike. He studied their routines, their weaknesses, and their defenses, never rushing into battle without a clear advantage. His attacks came at night, swift, brutal, and decisive. Under the cover of darkness, Phakara and his ally would move like shadows, overwhelming their enemies before they even realized the danger. Once victorious, he patrolled relentlessly, his roar a warning to all. Every dawn, his presence was felt across the grasslands, a constant reminder that a new power had claimed the territory. Rivals learned to avoid his borders. His scent marks were warnings, not just claims. The message was clear: trespassers would not be tolerated, and Phakara would defend what was his at any cost. When the alliance was no longer useful, Phakara drove off his partner and ruled alone. He understood that true power could not be shared, and he was ruthless in severing ties when the time came. His reputation for ruthlessness and self-reliance grew. Other lions spoke his name with a mix of fear and respect, knowing that he had earned his place through sheer will and intelligence. He trusted only his own strength to maintain power. Every challenge was met head-on, and every victory reinforced his dominance over the land. Phakara's ascent was a masterclass in patience, cunning, and merciless ambition. He never acted out of impulse, always weighing the risks and rewards before making his move. He became king by being smarter and more relentless than any rival. In the end, it was not just his strength but his mind that made him a legend on the savannah. Phakara was a lion built for battle, massive, muscular, and imposing. His very silhouette against the horizon was enough to send a ripple of tension through the savannah. Every muscle in his body seemed sculpted for power, from his broad shoulders to his thick, sinewy legs. He was the embodiment of strength, a living force of nature that few dared to challenge. His size alone commanded respect. He moved with deliberate confidence, each step a claim to the land. When Phakara walked, the earth seemed to acknowledge his presence, the grass parting beneath his heavy paws. Other animals would pause, watching him with a mixture of awe and caution, fully aware that they were in the presence of a true apex predator. His dark, thick mane made him appear even larger, especially in the twilight. The mane was not just a symbol of maturity but a shield in battle, and in the fading light it seemed to glow with a golden fire, making him look almost mythical. It was as if the setting sun itself crowned him king, but it was his eyes, piercing, intelligent, always assessing, that truly set him apart. They were the eyes of a leader, constantly scanning his surroundings, reading every movement, every sound. In those eyes you could see both the wisdom of experience and the raw intensity of a predator always ready to act. In combat, Phakara was efficient and brutal, ending fights quickly with overwhelming force. He wasted no energy on displays or intimidation. His attacks were calculated, swift, and devastating. Rivals learned quickly that to challenge him was to risk everything, for he fought not just for dominance, but for survival and legacy. His signature move, a powerful charge, targeting the back and hindquarters to disable rivals, was feared across the plains. This tactic, honed through countless battles, allowed him to end confrontations before they could escalate, asserting his dominance with ruthless precision. Scars marked his face and flanks, each a testament to battles won. These were not just wounds, but badges of honor, stories written on his skin. Every scar was a memory, a lesson, and a warning to those who might think to test him. He was fearless, driving off hyenas and even confronting bull elephants to protect his pride. No threat was too great, no enemy too intimidating. His courage was legendary, inspiring both fear and respect in equal measure. His courage was absolute. He never backed down from a threat. Whether facing a pack of snarling hyenas or the thunderous charge of an elephant, Phakara stood his ground, his roar echoing across the plains as a warning and a promise. Phakara's physical presence was a declaration of his right to rule. He surveyed his territory with the calm assurance of a monarch, every movement radiating authority. The land itself seemed to bend to his will, shaped by his strength and determination. He was more than a lion. He was a warrior king, his very being a legend. Stories of his power and bravery spread far beyond his territory, whispered by those who had seen him, and those who only dreamed of his might. The animals of the savannah knew this was a king not to be challenged. Even from a distance, his presence shaped the lives of all who shared his domain, a living legend whose reign would be remembered for generations. In an age of wildlife celebrities, Phakara remained a ghost. Rarely photographed, his story lived in the quiet words of rangers and guides. His legacy was respect, not fame. His presence shaped the land and its creatures. Under his rule, hyenas were subdued, prides healthier, the ecosystem more stable. His name, given by locals, carried a weight no camera could capture. Guides would ask, "Have you seen Phakara?" His saga passed on in hushed tones. His legacy was written in the land itself, not in headlines. True greatness, Phakara proved, is earned through action, not attention. Some kings are remembered not for being seen, but for the world they quietly shape. Phakara's true legacy was his pride. After his violent rise, he became a dedicated, protective father. He sired many cubs, watching over them with a rare blend of tolerance and fierce guardianship. His presence was a shield, allowing lionesses to hunt while he guarded the young. Rangers often saw him standing watch as cubs played around his massive paws. He was the anchor of the pride, ensuring everyone was fed and safe. His relationship with the lionesses was built on mutual respect. He protected, they provided. Every scar was a testament to battles fought for his family. In Phakara, the warrior and the father were one, a king who built and defended a dynasty. Even the greatest kings cannot escape time. Phakara's reign, once unshakable, began to show cracks, an old limp, a thinning mane, slower movements. He spent more time alone, distancing himself as his strength waned. His roars grew less frequent, his presence more subdued. The challenge came. 2 young males, ambitious and strong, tested his borders. In his prime, he would have crushed them. Now, he was outmatched. The battle was brutal. Phakara fought fiercely but was defeated and forced to retreat. He vanished into the wilderness, a ghost once more. There was no dramatic end, just a quiet disappearance. Rangers glimpsed him only briefly, a shadow of his former self. The unseen king faded into legend, his reign over. His story ended as it began, in mystery and silence. A king may fall, but a true legacy endures. Phakara's bloodline lived on, his cubs strong, his traits unmistakable in the next generation. Rangers saw his legacy in young males with broad shoulders, females who hunted boldly. His story became legend, a benchmark for all who followed. He's strong, but he's no Phakara, they'd say. His influence shaped the ecosystem, the balance he created lasting beyond his reign. The land itself remembered him, in thriving prides and stable prey. Phakara proved greatness doesn't need an audience. Some kings rule from the shadows, their power felt long after they're gone. His spirit lives on in his descendants and in the wild heart of the Savannah. Phakara's story is more than a lion's tale. It's a meditation on legacy and greatness. In the wild, legacy is measured in survival, bloodlines, and quiet influence. For every famous animal, there are countless unsung heroes like Phakara. Their stories are written in tracks, in the wind, in the lives they shape. Phakara challenges us to look deeper, to respect the power that thrives in obscurity. He was a king who needed no applause. His reign was a private epic. Let us remember the unseen kings, the silent legends who shaped the world. Not all heroes are famous, not all legends are known. Some, like Phakara, change their world and vanish, leaving only the quiet power of their memory. Prepare to meet the lion behind the myth. Phakara's first and most obvious advantage was his sheer size. Even among lions, he was a giant, broad-shouldered, deep-chested, and rippling with muscle. His massive paws left imprints that warned rivals to keep their distance. Every movement radiated power. He didn't need to threaten. His presence alone was enough. Other males, even the boldest, often reconsidered challenging him after seeing his imposing frame. Weighing well over 500 pounds, Phakara could pin opponents with ease, ending most conflicts before they began. His size wasn't just for show, it was earned through years of dominance, successful hunts, and first pick at every kill. This physical supremacy became a self-reinforcing cycle. His strength secured resources, which in turn fueled his continued growth. For rivals, facing Phakara was like confronting a living force of nature. His silhouette against the savannah was enough to crush the ambitions of would-be challengers. Even at rest, his power was unmistakable, a sleeping giant feared by all. To grow so large, a lion must be both a master hunter and a dominant leader. Phakara's size was the foundation of his legend, the first and most intimidating pillar of his reign. It was the reason so many challengers simply walked away. His power was visible from afar, a constant reminder that this was no ordinary lion. In the wild, size is survival, and Phakara's was unmatched. He was the immovable object, the king no one dared to cross. His legend began with his body, but it was only the beginning. This was the bedrock of his rule. If Phakara's size was his foundation, his mane was his crown. His mane was thick, long, and nearly black, a rare and powerful signal in the lion world. A dark mane means high testosterone, greater strength, and a history of victory. Rivals saw not just hair, but a warning. This was a lion at his physical peak. The mane also served as armor, protecting him in brutal fights. Challengers knew landing a decisive blow would be nearly impossible. This combination of honest signal and real defense made his mane a psychological weapon. Lionesses were drawn to him, seeing his mane as proof of superior genes and protection for their cubs. His pride grew, further cementing his dominance. Against the golden grass, his dark mane made him unmistakable, a king among kings. In the low light, his mane blended with the shadows, making his eyes seem to float, a haunting sight for any rival. For young males, the contrast was demoralizing. Their pale manes couldn't compare. Phakara's mane told the story of his life, health, victory, and unchallenged rule. It was a visual resume, impossible to fake. His mane was both shield and signal, attracting mates and deterring rivals. It amplified his legend, making him a figure of awe and fear. Many challengers, after one look, simply vanished into the bush. In the world of lions, a mane is everything, and Phakara's was unmatched. It was the mark of a true king. His mane completed the image of a living legend. When deterrence failed, Phakara's fighting style was pure, overwhelming aggression. He didn't posture or warn, he attacked with explosive force, ending conflicts before they could escalate. His opening charge often knocked rivals off their feet, immediately putting them on the defensive. He targeted weak points, spine, hind legs, crippling opponents with brutal efficiency. Phakara never gave ground. He pressed forward relentlessly, suffocating rivals with constant pressure. This broke the spirit of challengers, turning fights into desperate struggles for survival. He was infamous for taking on multiple rivals at once, focusing his fury to shatter coalitions before they could coordinate. By incapacitating one challenger quickly, he sent the rest fleeing in panic. His scars were trophies, each one a testament to battles won and challengers defeated. Unlike others, his wounds marked victory, not escape. His roar in battle was a guttural snarl, pure rage that terrified all who heard it. Defeated rivals limped away, spreading tales of his ferocity. The memory of his violence kept would-be usurpers at bay. Phakara's fighting style was the brutal enforcement of his rule. He was not just a king by presence, but by action. Every challenge ended in swift, decisive defeat for his enemies. His reputation for violence was a warning: challenge Phakara, and you risk everything. He ruled not just by fear, but by the certainty of his victory. His legend grew with every battle. In the end, his ferocity made his reign unbreakable. No one dared to test him twice. Most lions patrol on a schedule. Phakara did the opposite. His patrols were unpredictable, keeping rivals in a constant state of anxiety. He might appear at midnight or under the blazing sun, never following a pattern. This chaos was psychological warfare. No one could guess when or where he'd strike. Nomads hoping to sneak in never relaxed. Every shadow could hide the king. Sometimes he announced himself with thunderous roars. Other times he moved in silence, a phantom in the grass. His most feared tactic was the ambush, erupting from cover to attack intruders before they realized the danger. Phakara knew every inch of his land, using the terrain as a weapon. He turned his territory into a deadly labyrinth where every step could be fatal for trespassers. His scent markers were not just boundaries but warnings. The king could be anywhere. Even hyenas, notorious for their boldness, were cautious within his borders. He hunted those who dared to challenge him, reinforcing his dominance over all. For his pride, this unpredictability meant unmatched security. Lionesses and cubs thrived, protected by a king who was everywhere and nowhere. Other prides faced constant threats. Phakara's lived in a fortress of fear. His patrols were a masterclass in control. Abandoning routine, he created perpetual uncertainty for his enemies. He was a ghost, a storm, a force that shaped the land itself. Few dared to enter his domain. His unpredictability was as legendary as his strength. In Phakara's kingdom, safety belonged only to those under his rule. He was the unseen threat, the ever-present king. His territory was his fortress, and his legend. Phakara's legend extended beyond the animal world. Humans, too, spoke his name with awe. Rangers and guides, seasoned by years in the wild, considered him a phenomenon. Finding his tracks meant changing patrols and warning others. He was not a lion to be underestimated. Guides described his stare as piercing, a silent challenge that unsettled even the bravest. Unlike most lions, Phakara never backed down, even from vehicles or bull elephants. His willpower alone commanded respect, forcing even giants to yield. His defense of his pride was unmatched. He'd charge threats without hesitation, placing himself between danger and his family. One famous story tells of Phakara returning to find intruders harassing his pride. He attacked 3 rival males alone, driving them off despite his wounds. Tourists sought him out, hoping for a glimpse of the legendary king. Seeing Phakara was the highlight of any safari, a living embodiment of Africa's wild spirit. Rangers noted his intelligence. His unpredictable tactics were seen as strategic genius, not random aggression. He understood his environment and rivals, always staying one step ahead. Even as he aged, his reputation protected him. Young lions hesitated, haunted by stories of his prime. His legacy was built on both fear and respect, lasting long after his strength began to fade. Human observers became part of his legend, sharing tales around campfires and in lodges. When those who know lions best speak of one with such reverence, you know you're hearing about something extraordinary. Phakara was more than a lion, he was a phenomenon. His legend will be told for generations. He was the king that even humans feared to cross. His story is a testament to true greatness in the wild. Phakara's name became synonymous with power, intelligence, and indomitable spirit. He was unforgettable, the king who ruled both land and legend. Phakara's legend is written across the savannah. A king forged by 5 extraordinary traits. His size, his mane, his ferocity, his unpredictable patrols, and his reputation among humans created a perfect storm of dominance. He was more than a lion. He was a force of nature, a ruler by design. His story reminds us of the wild majesty that still endures in nature's fiercest corners. But there's another side to this king, his role as a father and protector. In our next video, we'll explore Phakara's journey as a guardian of his pride. Subscribe to witness the untold story of loyalty and fatherhood in the wild.